Good evening and welcome to another Spectrum. I'm your host Tiffany Burton and we've got great guests with us this evening. And now I'm going to introduce a gentleman named, I'm going to say his first name and I'm going to let him say his last name so that I don't screw it up. It's Djehuty, and I'm sorry I'm having such a problem with your last name. I don't know why. It's not.
It's okay. It's Maat Ra.
Maat Ra.
Maat
like
Ra.
the sun god.
Yes, Maat Ra.
So we can just think of you as Djehuty, the sun god?
Yeah, lowercase G-O-D.
Oh, Lord. Okay, Lord
Lowercase.
and sun god.
Don't
Okay,
want to
we
get in
got
trouble
that.
with the capital G-O-D. So.
Anyway, you are an herb specialist, and what I would like to know is why are so many in America sick today when we should have the best of everything? Food, a doctor care, what's going on? Why are so many people sick today in America?
Well, Americans are sick today because of their diet. Okay, I'll say lifestyle, but diet is probably 75 to 80% of that lifestyle. And when you consider what we're eating, because we are in America, a very luxurious country, the richest country on planet Earth, we eat too much. And we're eating too much of things that's not good for us. It's too much meat. Now, historically, people have always eaten meat, but today we're eating too much. Okay, we're eating too much meat, we're eating too much dairy products, and we're eating too much starch. And when you consider what goes into the meat, the starches, and the dairy products,
On top of it,
which exacerbates the problem, there lies your answer. Okay, so not only when we eat meat are we eating the parasites and worms that get in our body and rob us of minerals and vitamins. What about the hormones? Okay, or what about the synthetic chemicals? Okay, what about the cement they're feeding cows to make them heavier so they can get more money?
I can tell you a
block?
true story, Djehuty. My cousin in Kentucky called me and said his neighbor who sells milk to a dairy, this is all in the hills of Kentucky, Tennessee border,
Yes.
Could not get the bacteria count low enough to sell to the dairy. So he said, well, my count was low enough today. So my cousin Johnny said, what'd you do? He said, I took me some bleach and poured it right in the milk and they took it.
Well, that's exactly what the dairy industry does, because it's so much pus or mucus or snot, excuse me, in the milk and also feces that they cannot get out. So by law, they allow a certain percentage of the feces and the pus or mucus or cow snot
in the
milk. Okay, and it's not about bacteria. They pasteurize milk because milk is a living food. Okay, and you're supposed to eat it right or drink it right away. But because we're putting them in boxes, which I call caskets, on supermarket shelves to last 3 to 6 months, so the American consumer can buy it, they heat up the milk to kill the enzyme that causes milk to spoil, so it can last in a carton.
So that's why they heat it.
That's why pasteurization is propaganda. It's to kill the enzyme so the milk will not spoil, so it can stay on a supermarket shelf for 3 to 6 months.
So that, okay, I heard that some school kids went to a farm and they gave them some milk from the cows. They were tested for TB, they didn't have TB. But the kids all had to go home. They all got sick.
Well,
so they can't digest, they're not used to that enzyme anymore.
We're lactose intolerant as human beings, okay? But if you give a baby cow that cow milk for 6 months, it dies.
Really?
6 months of cow milk from the mother cow, because remember, she's not natural anymore. She's injected with hormones and all other type of chemicals where the milk just shoots out. It constantly comes out, and that's just too much for a baby cow to handle, and nature would never do that. So because man has interfered, a cow will die from its mother's milk if it drinks it for 6 months. It will die.
That's scary. That
Very
is
much
scary.
so.
What can people do to prevent their sickness and get good health then if our food is pretty
Well, to be honest, we're pretty ignorant about the foods we eat. I get asked all the time, Djehuty, what should I eat? What can I eat? Could you imagine a gorilla asking what to eat? Could you imagine a rabbit not knowing what to eat? All we have to do is just, go back to the old ways. But those of us who are religious, you have your Quran, you have your Bible, and just go back to those old dietary laws first and foremost. I like to recommend common sense. Okay, but common sense is not so common today. But
you're assuming an awful lot.
But people need to detox. People need to detox, and as a herbalist, I specialize in full body detoxing, because if we're eating that junk day in and day out, at some point your body's going to break down just like a car. Okay, you give your car a tune-up, there's an oil change, lube job, you wash it externally and internally. Human beings, well, we take baths and shower, but now we have to go inside and do an internal shower. We need to detox, and that's what we specialize in, herbal detoxifying the body. The major eliminative channels, we need to detox the liver, the lung, the kidneys, the colon, the skin. And also, if we are female, we need to detox the female channel, because that's why there's so much female reproductive cancers, ovarian cancer, fallopian tube cancer, et cetera,
I have never heard of any of these things. I've heard of the colon, but
Oh
I
yeah,
never
well, the body's
realized you can
connected.
detox the
Almost
whole
definitely.
body.
You have to. The body's holistic. The body's holistic.
Well, you're right. Oh,
okay?
I'm thinking,
So,
I'm thinking like a doctor.
Exactly.
Pieces.
Yeah, you can't do that, because they have tricked us, because the disease that's really doing us in is mucus. And mucus inflames, it burns. So we don't speak Latin in America, so the medical industry uses Latin because we're ignorant. So the inflammation is called itis in Latin, okay? And they don't call the body parts by the English name, they use the Latin name. So instead of saying jointitis, they say arthritis, which means you have inflammation in your joints because there's mucus locked in your joint area. If that mucus is on your brain, it's called meningitis. Menin is Latin for brain, and then there's itis, which means inflammation. So meningitis, inflammation of the brain because there's mucus in the brain. Bronchitis, vaginitis, tendinitis, arthritis, it's all the same. It's just in certain parts of the body.
It's our mucus from our body.
Well, our body produces it, but it's not the natural clear mucus. It is the mucus that is a byproduct from eating the meat, dairy, and starches. When you eat meat,
Is it like
breaks.
the mucus that's in our noses, that kind of mucus?
But there's two types. There's a clear mucus like okra, and then this green, yellow phlegm stuff that's coming out today is the unnatural mucus that is coming from the foods that the body is producing and a gesture to get rid of. Okay, so when we eat meat, it breaks down to uric acid, which is urine or piss, okay?
Okay.
That burns. That will make your body produce mucus. Dairy product breaks down into lactic acid, okay? That's going to produce mucus. And the starch breaks down to carbonic acid. That's the chemical they put on cement to make the cement soft so they can chisel your name into a tombstone. Our body produces, this is all acidic byproducts that will make your body produce mucus to protect itself from the acid. And we're eating so much, so the body's producing so much acid, and in turn it produces so much mucus to counteract the acid that the mucus that's supposed to help us out becomes a problem, and what it does is compromises the mucus membranes. And so that's where all the
Is that
diseases
what they're
come from.
talking about when they say we're acidic instead of alkaline?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, the average one soda pop has a pH of 2. God made us to be 7.3 pH. That's low, consider. You got 7 pH, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A pH of 6 is 10 times more acidic than a 7. A pH of 5 is 100 times more acidic than a 7. A pH of 4 is 1,000 times more acidic than a 7. A pH of 3 is 10,000 times more acidic
And
than a
where
7.
would white sugar
and a
be on
2
this?
is 100,000 times more acidic than a 7. And white sugar, which is the #1 drug on planet Earth, which means more people will die today from sugar than all the illegal drugs in 100 years, sugar's right up in there, low pH. Low pH, very low pH.
It's extremely acid, isn't it?
It's not only is it acid, it's fat forming. Sugar converts into fat. So it's acidic, it will make you fat, it will eat up your brain. Now, this stuff is horrible. And we're addicted to it in America.
Well, I do know the American Medical Association in their journal last year said that street drugs only account in America for 10,000 deaths last year.
Yes.
The pharmacy drugs that your doctor gives you accounted for, what was it, like 1 million deaths last year?
1.2.
You're safer shooting smack on the street than you are taking a pill that your doctor gives you.
That is correct. The #1 killer of Americans is heart disease, followed by cancer, the various cancers, and #3 is a word most of us probably never even heard of, and that's called iatrogenics, and that is doctor-physician-induced death.
Wow. Well, listen, Djehuty, I want to talk with you after the show. Very much. Thank you so much for coming on the show. That was
My
very
pleasure.
informative.
My pleasure.
I'm sure you're going to get a lot of callers, and myself included, because that was fascinating. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thanks again for watching Spectrum, and God bless everybody.